Hare Krishna Nitai, how are you?
Hare Krishna Prabhu,
Hare
Dhanavats.
Krishna, yeah. Thanks for taking the time out today for me.
No problem, it's a pleasure.
Yes, so yeah, I had this, this idea in my mind for a very long time that a lot of people know, obviously, why you know we have why we should follow a spiritual life. We obviously know that, but a lot of people also want to know what if there are any benefits of having a spiritual life, in your day-to-day living, so to speak. So, I thought who else to ask but you, because I know you're a practitioner and you're a fantastic mridanga player as well. So that's the reason I'm troubling you today.
Yeah,
Yeah. so
well, hmm,
so tell me, actually, tell you what, we'll just do an informal conversation. Yeah. So tell me a bit about our viewers who will be watching you for the first time. So just tell a bit about yourself. So tell about like your parents to start with.
okay. So, my father, his name is Amala Harinam Prabhu,
All right.
and he's from Dominican Republic originally.
That's in the Caribbean.
That's right, yeah. So it's I think it's by boat a few hours from Miami Beach.
Ah, yes, yes,
If
yes.
you want to swim it, you're most welcome to.
Yeah, it's a beautiful island.
Yeah. Um, so my mother,
Yes,
she's originally from Spain. She's from
Spain.
Lerida. Yeah,
Merida.
she's from
Okay.
Lerida, yeah, the north of Spain.
Yeah.
And so my father, he got involved in the Hare Krishna movement through Srila Prabhupada's preaching
Mm.
in the West, and actually that time, was as many people know, is a lot of hippie movement going on.
Yes.
That was the main focus. Beatles, George Harrison.
This is 60s we're talking about.
Yeah, but that was still kind of trickling through even with the 70s and stuff. And my father, he was like my grandfather. He wasn't a very spiritual person as such. Like he wasn't a very religious person as such. But my father was very close with his mother, so my grandmother, and she's actually a Catholic, a Catholic Christian, and she was always encouraging to go to the church and pray and be part of the whole practice, as you
Yeah.
will. So my father was always kind of like naturally inclined to religious.
Like spiritual.
Is he asleep?
No, see, I'm making his milk, but it's like 4:15,
Okay,
and then after feeding, I'm gonna get late.
but is he sleeping?
No, I've got to make his milk. I'm gonna do that now.
He's not sleeping.
No, he's not sleeping. I think he's hungry, so I'm trying to feed him. It's like I need to get going soon.
Okay, I'll be with him soon. Don't worry. Okay, sorry.
No, is it okay? If you have to go, it's okay. We can do it some other time.
Let's just see what happens.
Yeah, sure. So you were saying about your dad and mom. Yeah, so mom was from Spain. Yes.
Yeah, so my mom, she's originally from Spain, and my father's originally from Dominican Republic. And just to long story short, he was introduced into any kind of spiritual thought or religious activities and stuff like that through my grandmother. So that naturally progressed onto being able to appreciate what Krishna consciousness is about. And I think, with you could say this about any religion or any kind of faith, that Krishna consciousness is a path, and we all have our own paths in life, and they say all roads lead to one, isn't it? But everyone is in some kind of more or less their own spiritual development. Everyone has their own spiritual development. There's level 1, level 2, level 3, level 4, and it just so happened that my father was exposed to Srila Prabhupada's preaching, and he just became really attracted to it. I mean, he had naturally, at that time, even before meeting Srila Prabhupada, he had naturally given up eating meat and stuff like that, which I guess is, in some ways not super important, but these kind of small little things, they help. And so he was into vegetarianism. He was into, I think he sort of heard something about karma, that like the concept of, having many lives, not just one life, but having many lives. And that got him really thinking at the time as a young man. And then, I mean, he was like I said, like he was totally very favorable to the preaching of Srila Prabhupada. And then he joined the mission, and he got shaved up and became a brahmachari and just joined the temple, and that was it, really.
And he did meet Srila Prabhupada, isn't it? He was initiated by him, right?
Yeah, directly, and he became a brahmachari, and he did a lot of preaching in South America. Is that home? So South Africa.
South America, yeah. You mean like
South America.
Spanish? He speaks Spanish, so obviously all the Latin
right.
America, and then obviously your mom. She also I think got introduced to this philosophy through ISKCON in Spain. Am I correct? Yes.
Yeah, that's right. So she was, my mom was serving in Spain. I can't remember exactly who she took initiation from, but long story short, she somehow met my father in Spain, and my father, this was way after like Srila Prabhupada had already like left the planet and passed away, so to speak, and she was very confused, and she didn't know what to do, and she wanted to take instruction from someone, and she wanted to go to someone who has a strong potency, so to speak. And the current is still running through them very strongly, and is very prominent in the movement at that time. So my father introduced my mother to Srila Sridhar Maharaj, which is, again, at that time there was a lot of controversy about that, but my mom had a good feeling about that, and she got introduced to Srila Sridhar Maharaj, and my mom took initiation from Srila Sridhar Maharaj, and she got the name Mahadevi Didi, and so then later on my parents got married.
Yeah, that's right. And now they live in London, and obviously then in the whole process you came along. Right?
Well, that's right.
So you were really born into a very spiritual family, so to speak, right? So, and I think your parents lived in India as well, isn't it? So you spent a lot of time in India, am I right?
Yeah. So my father, he was at that time, he used to be into selling paintings. He used to sell a lot of paintings because it was popular at that time. and he would sell paintings to people that were quite wealthy, and he had saved up enough money to sort of live in India with my mum and myself, and we'd basically go from one to another temple all over India, and we'd just sort of
Wow.
explore the whole of India.
Wow.
I still till this day remember quite a few things, even though we're going back, easily 20, 25 years. I still can remember it. And then, somehow, like all good things, they do come to an end. And I did it. But that's not obviously okay. Like, it all came to an end. Then I had to continue another chapter over here in the UK. So for whatever reason, I ended up here in the UK, and I came here when I was about 6 or 7 years old, and I had come here just with my mother because there was a little bit of a situation with my father and his visa and some laws in Spain, and there was a situation, and then he later came to the UK around 2000 or 1999 or 2000, 2001, around that time.
Sure. And I mean, I know you mentioned, I know I've heard you playing mridanga, and you play brilliant mridanga actually. So you did mention you learned this style of mridanga in India?
No.
Or
No,
was it here?
I mean, when I was a young boy, like I had always been exposed to kirtan and bhajans and chanting and that kind of thing, because I was in the Navadvip temple. Sometimes I used to stay there, so I used to hear a lot of devotees chanting and things all the time. But it was only until I actually was about 10 years old when I was here in the UK, and that's when I kind of started really thinking about it, when Dayanidhi Prabhu, he sort of approached all the children at that time, and he was kind of like trying to encourage us to learn Mridanga. And the first time I even like properly sat down and just thought about actually trying to learn it, I just thought, no, this is just not happening. This is too hard, not happening. And just trying to focus my mind to follow instruction of someone, and that's hard enough as it is as a kid. Maybe not for everyone, but for me it was.
I mean,
and
obviously
then
he was a good teacher, wasn't he? He obviously taught you well.
He was very he was very patient with all of us. But I learned most of it. Most of the stuff that I know actually was just learned from, like, honestly, like, it was just heart to heart transaction. It was me playing with him, me playing with Vera, me playing with all the other devotees and Damodar Prabhu and stuff like that. Yeah, that's how I learned.
But the thing is, Dayanidhi Prabhu, who's a devotee as well in the temple, I mean, I've heard him play. I mean, his energy when he plays is absolutely just out of this world. And I think you mentioned that he actually learned, maybe he learned from West Bengal, Dayanidhi Prabhu, I think. Maybe you told me that, or someone told me. I can't. But anyway, so those of you who don't know what we're still talking about, obviously we're talking about how spiritual life can actually help us in the material life, and why we should take spiritual life. So talking about the spiritual life, so what spiritual life you're talking about here? Just what spiritual path do you follow? What is it called? What's the name of the path?
Okay, so it has many names. I mean, someone could stop me on the street and they could say, "Oh, are you a Hindu or something?" I say,
Hare Krishna.
Yeah, sure, But that's such a big, like, you could fit that anywhere, can't you? I mean, there's so many different types and things, and then you could just be like, "Oh yeah, Hare Krishna," or whatever,
Yes.
And that's fine, I accept that, call me whatever. But the actual technical term is Gaudiya Vaishnav. So we are basically exclusive service to Srimati Radharani, and that's actually very it's a
Hi.
very high conception. And I've also heard things like where somebody once commented about the locals in Vrindavan saying things like, they're doing dandavats, prostrating themselves, and then they take a stone, and then they
Oh yes,
take
yes.
another stone,
Yeah. I've seen that.
and
Oh
they
my God,
yeah,
that is amazing. Really, I've seen
it
that.
is. It is. It's like,
Very,
wow.
very tough, very austere. Yeah,
Yeah, and they do that the whole day, right?
they do the whole life. So you practice Gaudiya Vaishnavism, or in the
Yeah.
West, commonly known as Hare Krishna. And so, how long you been? I mean, I know you got initiated quite early. At what age was that? You got initiated? You're quite young, right?
I think I was about 10 or 12, something like that.
Right.
Yeah.
And then after, once you got initiated, and then after you were still growing and going to the school and usual childhood, and then when you started practicing, would you say you really started practicing the
I
spiritual?
think for me personally, I started, uh, you know, there's one thing doing it, and then there's one thing doing it consciously, So consciously,
That's a good point.
where I actually started being more aware of what I was doing
Well,
and
yeah.
why I'm doing it, and not really too worried about what other people are thinking about me, was really truly when I was about, I'd say 18, 19, where I basically, I was going through a phase where I was about to go to university, where I was doing film studies. I was a media studies student, and I had aspirations to go into filming and directing and producing and all that stuff. And I had even written a letter to Srila Govinda Maharaj.
Who was the head of the? Who's the
Who
Guru
was
Acharya?
he's my
The Guru
Gurudev.
Acharya of the Shri Chaitanya
Oh,
Saraswati Math. Yes,
that's
yes.
right. And I'd written a letter, and I was asking him permission to do that. And he gave me he gave me blessings to do that. And I was like, wow, Jai. So as far as I was concerned, I was like, yeah, I've got
the blessings.
Pass, I've got the blessings, and whatever. So I'm going to go and crack on with that. Oh, hang on. Sorry. This camera's just come off. Sorry about that. Let me just see if I can get that back on. There we go. Sorry about that. Is that okay? Yeah? Okay. Hello?
Yeah, sorry. Yeah, sorry about that. Yeah.
No worries.
Technical difficulties. So yeah, I mean, so basically at the age of 18, when a normal teenager is, usual hormones are running high and you're chasing girls and traveling and adventure, but your spiritual life actually started at that age, 18.
Here's the thing. Like, I was in college. There was a lot of stuff going on in college. Let's just be honest, right?
Yes, everything.
But here's the thing, right? My situation was, I was doing what normal kids my age do, right? And then for some reason, my friend was not doing that, and I was like, what is going on here, right? And I'm talking about like Virachandra Prabhu. So he was staying at the temple, and I was just thinking, why the hell would you want to stay in the temple?
Yes, of course.
Like, I was just thinking,
age,
you're just a kid, like, you're young, like, why don't you just go and study and do what everyone else is doing? That's what they do. They study, they get a job, they settle down, and
so as for normal life,
right,
yeah.
normal life.
Yeah,
And
fine.
it just didn't make any sense to me.
Yes.
for some reason, like I was just like, oh my God, like what is actually going on? Like I need to investigate what is happening. Why is this person who is my close friend not, you know, participating any longer in outside life? And is there something that he's doing that I'm missing out? Because for some weird reason our relationship is like that. It's like if he's doing something,
Competitive.
I've got to, yeah, a little
Yeah,
bit, but
it's
sometimes these
fine.
things are good. Sometimes these things are good. You need that
Absolutely.
sometimes, you know. And I think in this situation, this was good, because if I didn't have someone to sort of, you know, kind of go, hey, what about this? I don't think I would even consider it. Maybe I would later on, but not at that time.
So
So
yeah.
so basically, he was living in the temple, and then I wanted to find out what was going on, and then he was like, hey, why don't you stay in the temple as well? Like, you've been doing so much studying. Why don't you just take a year off and see how you feel and see whether you like it? And I was like, you know what? I have been doing a lot of studying. Yeah, I'm sick of it. So then I I moved into the temple, and I remember just getting rid of everything. Like I had like designer jeans and really nice clothes, and you know, like really like just nice clothes and stuff that make you superficially feel really good about yourself, right? So I threw all this stuff out, and at first I was like really upset. I was like, oh man, I don't know if I should do that. Like I'm maybe regretting this, you know? And then later on, you know, I tell you what, I felt so peaceful. I felt so happy, because I was like, if I don't have anything, then there's nothing to worry about. What can you possibly lose if you don't have anything? And then it was really like, it was just like a life-changing experience, because it's literally like I don't have any baggage. Like literally, I don't have any
Just
baggage.
dropping everything just
Exactly.
outside.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
So
And yeah.
yeah, go on. Sorry, finish it.
I was just gonna say, like the only baggage I had was my own baggage in here. But
Ah,
apart from that, it felt really good. It was just really light, you know, everything was just like no troubles. So yeah.
so I mean, in when you take a spiritual life, I mean, what's your daily routine like? I mean, what do you normally? How does your day starts, and what do you normally do?
So I mean, when I was living in the temple, as a brahmachari, that means someone who's celibate and refrains from contact with the opposite sex or whatever. Um, then what we would do was stay in the temple. Obviously, we're very strict. Like, you know, the men, they stay in the men's ashram. The ladies, they stay in the ladies' ashram. No mixing and that kind of stuff. So we'd have to work obviously on, you know, basic stuff, our etiquette. But that aside, I mean, we'd wake up nice and fresh very early, Mongolati, going
What,
to
what,
Mongolati. So that's like basically you wake up early and you perform
what time?
like a ritual. You know, oh, we'd wake up sometimes due to service. Like I'd have to wake up the deities and look after the deities and do the puja and do the fruit offering. So I could be up at 4 a.m. in the morning. You know, so it was tough in the beginning, because your mind says, I don't want to do this. Why should I do this?
Yeah,
But it's all part of devotional practice.
yeah,
And
yeah.
in the beginning, you know, you don't want to do it, but you can see the spiritual benefit inside of you. Like you can actually feel that. You feel more peaceful. You feel more happy. You feel that actually happiness really is within. It's not all these things around you, because, honestly, like I had nothing. So why was I feeling happy? That would be my question to someone. If happiness is all about things around you, I had nothing. So why was I happy? Right? I
Hmm.
had nothing. I didn't have any money. I didn't have any fancy jewelry. I didn't have any fancy clothes. I didn't have a car. I didn't have, you know, this, that, or the other. But I was really happy. So my point is, by me doing all those, you know, these things and practicing as much as I could, I got the foundation for of spiritual life, so that I could, I mean, later on, yes, I left the temple and I settled down and I've got a family now and stuff like that. But I still try to do those daily practices every day. I still try to, wake up as early as I can and read something, chant my japa, chant my rounds, do deity worship in my own house, and I try to kirtan and chant as much as possible, and I try to get my family and people involved as much as I can. So
Yes.
that's what I've taken with me, that practice, and I've taken
Getting
that
up
into
is discipline. It's just a
yeah.
discipline. It gives you spiritual life gives you discipline, at least, isn't it? Like getting up in the right time, sleeping at the right time. The whole day is pretty much
Generally, I think it's food for the soul,
you
because
should get any day off then.
well, I think it's food for the soul in the sense of that, you can do so many things, right? You could go to your job, you can earn a living, you can go and see all your friends, play some sports, watch football, blah blah blah, whatever it is people do, right? But you'll always feel like there's something missing. And then when you sit down, you do some chanting, you meet the devotees, you do some devotional service, it feels like it fills up that gap, that emptiness. That's from my own experience.
Uh-huh.
And I all I can talk about is my own experience. And my own experience of things is that, you can do so many things in the world, but there'll always be something missing. And until you fill up that gap with spiritual life, you'll always feel like there's something missing there. You won't quite know what that is until you actually practice it. And my advice is, like, to
Very
anyone,
hard. Very
you
hard
have to come. You gotta try it out yourself. The proof is in the pudding.
Thing is, we are discussing this, that the benefits of spiritual life in normal, material world, so to speak. I know this is not the ultimate goal of spiritual life. It's actually, we're not looking for that as a practitioner, but just for this conversation, obviously the goal of spiritual life is not really, looking at material benefits of any sort. You're obviously working towards a higher goal, but this is the world we live in, that people obviously are looking for, what's in it for me, how will it benefit me. And that's the reason I'm having this conversation with you, that people can learn that spiritual life is just, it's not like, it's just, it got so much value in just life in general, that it actually has benefit on all your different aspects of your life, isn't it?
Yeah.
And then so the routine obviously there's there, and you get up in the morning, and then you have obviously afternoon, you have a prayer, then in the evenings, right? And then you do the service during the day, whether it's the kitchen or food distribution or preaching, so we do that as well. So some say, as I said to you earlier, that some say that spiritual life is boring. So is it boring?
I think you have to.
Do you ever feel
You
ever
have to.
bored?
Everyone's got their own definition of what boring is, isn't it? Do you know what I mean? Some days you can wake up and be like, yeah, this is boring, don't want to do that. And then some days you feel like, oh, this is quite good. So the thing is, like, bhakti yoga, our practice, which is, this word comes up, devotion. What does that even mean? Devotion means that whether you're happy or whether you're sad, you're still devoting yourself to something. So we're devoting ourselves to the devotees, Krishna, Mahaprabhu. And it doesn't really matter too much how we're feeling, whether we're happy or sad. We still try to give our heart, our devotion to the service of the Lord. And a side effect from that is, yes, you may feel really happy, but that's not what we're like
Yeah, no,
focusing on.
no, but what I'm saying is when your mind is saying, "Oh, I don't want to get at 4 o'clock in the morning," but you still do, that gives you that mental strength. You know,
Yeah,
so
oh
that
yeah,
develops your mental strength, your
of
willpower.
course.
So it does help. I mean, it even because nobody wants to do, when we first start, but then before it becomes a habit, even after it becomes a habit, even after years of practice, you still go through that, and then have the willpower. I mean, I don't have that kind of willpower, but yeah, I mean, you do develop that will. Mind you, I'm not a practitioner, so a serious practitioner, to be honest. But for a practitioner, he gets up in the morning, and you need a lot of willpower for actually to perform. To have that, develop your practice, and then you see the benefit. I think I'm sure, like as you said, you can see the benefits in the long term, isn't it? I mean, and again, when somebody says spiritual life, well, spiritual life is not just about sitting and doing meditation all day long or doing your chanting. I mean, especially with the Vaishnava movement, the Hare Krishna movement, there's a music aspect of it, right? Which is kirtan, which is beautiful. I mean, I
Yeah.
love kirtan. And then obviously then there's prasadam, beautiful, healthy vegetarian food, right? And then obviously then the association of the devotees, correct? So you meet like-minded people, who are generally, at the same plane or on the same journey. And then also, giving to the society, isn't it? You contribute by charity. There's a lot of charity work, a lot of service work. Whether being feeding the homeless people or going out there and doing harinam. I know I've been to harinam once, and it's beautiful. It's beautiful. So, I mean, so it's not just one thing. There's a lot of different aspects to spiritual life, isn't it? Right?
Yeah, I mean, um, you know, we have the five. We've got the senses, haven't we? Got the five senses. We can see, smell, touch, taste, hear, and so on. So, yeah, in Bhakti Yoga, we try to engage our senses in spiritual practices as best as possible, because sitting in a secluded area and closing your eyes and trying to meditate for long periods of time, that was prescribed at you know one time of existence. But here in this time of existence, which is we're in a certain age, which is called Kali Yuga, according to the scriptures. And in Kali Yuga, it's prescribed to be doing devotional service and basically chanting, congregational chanting, to congregate together
No, but
with
what I was
devotees.
saying to you was, sorry to just, what I was saying was, so how do you translate that into material life? So when you sit and chant 16 rounds, obviously when you go to your normal life, how does it help you? What aspect? Uh, you
How
know,
does that help? Yeah, so
yeah,
it's kind of like what you were saying, right? And this is just a side effect from chanting. So there's more things that people can benefit
of course,
from,
of course.
on a spiritual level. But if you want to talk about, just objectively, like you said, like if you can sit down there and meditate, like focus your mind to chant as best as possible, as many rounds as possible, you're going to build up some mental resilience. You're going to be able to also focus more. You'll be able to, you know
Deal with difficult situations
yeah,
and
definitely. and
stress.
and it has a really positive effect naturally. With chanting has a very positive effect. It just makes you feel so much more peaceful in general. So there's a big difference when I don't chant to when I do chant.
Yes,
When I don't chant, I feel a bit kind of sluggish. Like I feel a bit like my day
is not.
is not
Yes,
really
it's missing.
not really. Yeah, it's like not centered around anything.
And
Uh,
I mean, again, sorry, I'm just aware of the time. So just taking on to the next point, because I always felt when I see, when devotees, involved in charity. So you're doing the service, right? So that's the spiritual practice, that you part of the spiritual practice is you do service. And then when you go out in the world again, when
How does
you
that?
meet different people, right?
Mm.
Dealing with different people, right? So that also helps, isn't it? Right? Like organizational skills, your organizational skills, your
Well, well,
interpersonal
yeah.
skills.
I mean, before I went to the temple, yes, okay, I was working, but after I lived in the temple for a few years, and I went back into work, it's weird. Like I had a completely different outlook on life and about myself. In the positive sense, it was like a special kind of confidence a special kind of confidence within myself because I knew that, hang on a minute, apart from this body that I have, who am I really? Like, who am I really? So I knew that, okay, well, actually, I'm a soul, I'm a servant of Krishna. And I'm here right now in the material world, but everything that I'm doing, all my interactions with people, those little choices that I make, end of the day, like it can be focused on something higher, can be focused on the Lord, or it can be focused on myself. So when I came out into the world, I tried to just focus all my energy in a positive way so that no matter what I'm doing, even though I'm working outside, I'm doing that as an offering to the Lord, you know?
And what I'm also hearing is awareness that you're always in the present moment, because
Yeah,
if that's the way you are thinking, that then you're always aware, and you're always aware of your thoughts, and also being present in the moment, isn't it? So I mean, again, as I said, when you are, in a again with association, you meet the like-minded people again. What I've seen is that you develop a certain tolerance, and not tolerance of that, but not the maybe the right word, like accepting other people the way they are, so that
absolutely,
we are
absolutely.
taught, is in a spiritual life, you're taught to accept the people the way they are, isn't it? So you develop that humility, and respect for other human beings, and have more patience, isn't it? Right?
Yeah, I mean, there's the three principles that, sorry, it's this camera. Yeah, the three principles that we are,
I
sorry,
think,
just
yeah, you're back now. You're back. Yeah.
we back, yeah. Okay.
I think you zoomed in a
So
little bit. So if you can zoom out slightly.
yeah, this is another camera. This is the one I
Yeah.
wanted to
I'll
do.
try to edit
This,
this.
yeah,
Yeah, that's
there we
fine.
go.
Yeah.
There we go. Right. So the three principles, that we carry out as much as possible, pretty much at all times, is being humble, being tolerant, and giving honor to others and not expecting anything in return. Um, and these were the three principles that, Srila Govinda Maharaj really focused on. My Gurudev, he really focused on this. This was, introduced by Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, Chunada Pisu Nichana, and that's really helped me with my whole life. Like honestly, it's really helped me when I go outside into the world, because you're gonna get someone who's going to, you're gonna have clashes with that person, and it's easy to just get into a fight or have a disagreement. It's very easy to do that. It doesn't take any effort. But it's another thing to back away a little bit and just be conscious of the situation more, and then just be like, oh, hang on a minute.
You check your emotions.
Yeah, like
You can
like
check
how-
it.
like I think it helps you to be sober.
That's right.
That's the
I
that's
think,
the
yeah.
that's the word I wanna
Yeah.
I wanna
The
use there.
awareness, isn't it? Basically, you become more aware of your own feelings and your own thoughts, isn't it? Because once
Yeah,
what in a spiritual practice, obviously you get in touch with your inner self, and you become very sensitive, isn't it, to others and yourself, your own feelings and your own thoughts. I mean, I know. So
absolutely.
yeah, so we talked about, obviously, association, and the service aspect of it, the meditation, the japa aspect of it, and obviously we're talking about the food. Obviously, that's healthy food. So you're eating healthy stuff. Obviously, needless to say that how health is important to us. And with the music, I mean, it's what a beautiful service the kirtan is. And people get involved within the kirtan movement. You can develop, learn an instrument. No one, everyone's encouraged to learn or sing or
Yeah.
participate in the kirtan. I mean, that itself is such a joyous, again, activity.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I've always been somewhat quite into music growing up, but just knowing that I can use my skills and play an instrument or sing as an offering to the Lord is, for me personally, is just fantastic, because I'm able to actually do something with myself. I can practically use what I have, what I've been given, or rather, but like humbly, use a skill set that I have. That's obviously been developed over time as a service to the Lord and the devotees.
I mean, do you
It's
feel?
wonderful.
I mean, I've seen you, but obviously I know you personally. So the thing is, do you feel that is it when you're learning new skills when you go out? I think you have this. I don't know whether it's personal or is it because of the spiritual life. I'm not too sure about that, but I suppose it can contribute when you go out in the material world. When it comes to learning new skills, right? Or learning something new which you've never done before. I suppose it can be very helpful. But
Yeah,
what do you think?
yeah. I mean, staying in a temple, you get thrown into the deep end a few times.
Yes,
It's not like someone's going to come up to you and say, well, I'm sorry, but there's no way you're going in the kitchen because you don't have the credentials, so it's not happening. It's literally like, Prabhu, we need you in the kitchen now. We're short on people. And yes, in the beginning you're kind of like, oh, I don't know what I'm doing, and then everyone sort of gives you that support and attention to say, and make you, sorry, to make you feel like, actually, yes, you can do that. Yes, you put away your expectations on the floor for a moment and just get on with it. Don't
yes.
be so much in your head,
Don't
because
don't don't get stressed out, basically, and deal with the situation as it
well,
manifests.
I think that, like, over the years, like, you know what I've learned from service and like service in the temple, is that we're all there doing service, and we're doing it as an offering, right? And you can get really in your head about how everything should be perfect, and because you are trying to impress someone, or you're trying to, like, make everyone feel that what you're doing is so amazing or whatever. But after a while, you start thinking, hang on, this needs to be done. This just has to be done, and it needs to be done nicely. But forget about my own feelings about what other people feel about me. This actual service needs to be done. So I don't have time to be scared or afraid, because that's just going to waste more time. I just
And,
need to get on with it. So it gives
and
you some kind
yeah,
of resilience.
and also you develop this. When you do a service, you want to give it the best. Your
Yeah,
best.
yeah.
Highest. So again, that also develops as well, isn't it? So yeah, I mean, I've seen devotees in the temple. I mean, I would say that it's a very good very good setup where you learn, you're participating in the events, in the community, you become more selfless. That's the way I look at it. When you serve others without any ego, it makes you more selfless, bit more calm, a general good human being. So these are all the benefits, I can see. I mean, also it's interpersonal relationships as well, isn't it? I mean, it goes without saying. So within your family, with your kids, right? You can see it around you, right?
Yeah, I mean, it's it's a whole thing, you know. Some people, they can live on their own really easy, right? Really simple. They can live by themselves. And then when they go out to the real world, they get super stressed out about everything because there's so many people around them and they're moving everywhere and they're getting in their way, or, you know, some kind of disagreement. So the thing is, in a temple, you're put into like kind of like a family environment because there's so many different other people together, and there's anything can happen. You can get into a disagreement or whatever, but at the end of the day, you have to come to a conclusion that everyone is trying to actually serve harmoniously. And with that being said, you get to a point where you're just realizing like, oh, hang on a minute, I have to consider all these other people that are here, you know, and it's not all just about me. Like, I actually have to consider about all these other people. So you learn to sort of be able to interact with all these people in a harmonious way, in a nice way, and make everything work at the same time. And you know, you all have the same goal, which is to serve.
Exactly.
You know?
Yeah, I was going to say that.
And that is a skill. That is a skill. You know.
I mean, when the whole family works, you know, working in sync, you know. So, but yeah, we're all different, I suppose. I know, and everyone's got their own journey. But you know, having a same focus, same goal, you know, it helps you spend quality time with your family. You know, generally nowadays people, you know, watch TV and or on the iPads or, you know, YouTube or whatever. But with this,
Yeah.
you know, you are actually spending quality time, you know, whether be it kirtan or going to the temple or doing a community service or even reading, you know, books in the house, you know, or sitting together and reading the books. So yeah, I mean, of course, I mean, you know, some would say that, you know, we don't need spiritual life to be happy, which I suppose, okay, that's fine. What would you say to them that would say that, yeah, you don't actually need a spiritual life for all this. You can just be happy without, you know, having a spiritual life. What would your take be on it?
I mean, again, like, I can only talk about my own personal experience. I can only talk about, you know, how I've gone through my own life, my own struggles, my own experiences. Now, yes, you know, someone could say that, but again, you have to kind of, you got to define what that even means. What does happiness mean, really? Is happiness when you feel good? Is happiness when you have everything? Is happiness when someone tells you you're the best? Is that what happiness is? Is happiness being the only person left standing on this planet? You know, it's all very relative. Now, to me personally, happiness is like, real happiness is where you feel peace, where you feel peaceful inside, and you're not disturbing anything around you. That's
Yeah,
what real happiness is.
what-
It's from inside. You don't need anything. You know, it's all coming from inside, and you're completely content in that moment. You don't need anything else, and at the same time, you're not disturbing anyone else around you. I mean, you know,
you can deal with it basically, you know,
yeah. I
very.
mean, there's people, they have a Ferrari or they have a Lamborghini, or, you know, they're like, yeah, I'm so happy. But how much things did they have to do to get that? How many people did they have to tread over to get that? How much, you know, uh, how many, like,
it's
how
it's a
many things did they
complexity.
have to? Yeah, it's a dog, like they say, it's a dog eat dog world, right? It's brutal.
Mm.
There's people exploiting other people constantly to get what they want. I mean, you can look at the animal kingdom. The animal kingdom is like that, you
I,
know?
yeah, I mean, I certainly, I think spiritual life definitely can give that peace and that grounding in your normal day-to-day life. I can vouch for it, and I know what you're saying. Of course, it's our own personal experience, but I can definitely watch for it. I think it does help a lot, to deal with situations in your life. And yes, very, very true. And it's very, very important because a lot of people they fall apart. They can't handle, the stress or the situations in their life. Some are obviously better than the others, but a lot of people fall apart because they don't have that spiritual grounding. And it's very, very important to have that connection, with the spiritual connection with the, you want to call it God, or you want to call it, the higher self.
Yeah.
Depends what practice you follow, isn't it? We follow obviously Vaishnavism, so it's different for us. But yeah, I mean, I think it's very good what you just said, and I think on that note, I mean, I think fantastic. Would you like to add something before we end the session? Would you like to add
Um,
something else, or you're happy with what we have discussed? You can always come
well,
back. So,
no, I'd like to say that, if I'm talking to those people that are feeling maybe a bit shy, they don't really know if there's a God or if there's anything significant in life that they should, explore. All I can say is this: like, come to the temple, take prasadam, participate in the kirtan, help out a little bit, be part of it, try it, actually come to the temple and do it for a good amount of time, and then step back. Then you can decide whether you're into it or not. And
I think,
and if
yeah,
that being said, like, otherwise,
yeah,
you're just kind of just looking from outside, but you don't know what it's about, do you?
I think you said it beautifully. Actually, I think what you're saying, I mean, it's fantastic. I think experience it. Don't. It's not a bookish thing. It's not
Yeah,
theory. You experience it, and then and that is your reality. Then that becomes your reality, and then So the best, I think you said it, ended actually. You said it beautifully. Experience it, and only then you would know. Otherwise, it's just theory. And
yeah.
so yeah. So I think that's very nice actually. I really enjoyed the conversation with you, and I know you are starting a channel. Have you started your channel as yet, or not?
It's just yeah. So everything's still sort of in the works at the moment. The channel is called Epic Heroes and Legends, and basically what that is.
Mhm.
My cam's gone a bit funny.
That's all right. That's okay.
What that is basically a channel that focuses on all the kind of like heroes and all the heroes and personalities from the books
From
like the
Mahabharata. Yeah.
Mahabharata, Ramayana, and it looks into each character. With each video looks into each character and talks a little bit about them and sort of summarizes who these great personalities were, what they did, what they brought to the world, and what were they living like their life by, and what were they really about. And yeah, I'm also thinking about sort of doing discussions as well.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, that sounds. I told you that's a fantastic. Sounds like a fantastic idea. So once your channel is ready, give it to me, and I'll put the link in the description box. All right.
No problem, no problem.
Yeah, yeah. But yeah, no, really appreciated that, man. Thank you very much. And hopefully we'll I'll call you back for a part two and maybe discuss something different, something more interesting as well. Okay.
Sure, no problem. No worries.
All right. Hare Krishna. Thank you.
Hare Krishna. Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Thank you.